This is Sam O'Reilly with a Fight Talk podcast. I'd like to start with a serious matter. If anybody has seen Jack Catterall, please get in touch with your local police station. He was due to be on the Fight Talk podcast this evening and has not been heard of for the last 4 to 5 hours. So if you hear from him, please let us know so we can make sure he's all safe and sound.
Jack, if you hear this, we're all thinking about you, mate. Just do the right thing.
Fight Talk podcast in association with Round 8. No James this evening. Myself and Craig Scott are joined on the phone by my brother-in-law, the legend that is Kevin Smith. What's happening, Mush?
Cheers again, lads. Thank you very much for inviting me back on.
You're becoming a prominent figure on these podcasts, mate. You're a fan's favourite now.
What can I say? You keep asking me back. I must be doing something right.
Jack Catterall is who you have to... Is he in your basement? Or so?
I've got him dug under my house, mate. That's what it is.
Ah, dear. Let's start. Let's start with the heavyweight boxing from the weekend. What do you reckon?
Heavyweight boxing. Obviously, Joe Parker was fighting yesterday. He fought one of his sparring partners, Razvan Kojanu, ranked 79th in the world by BoxRec. Tough scrap. Actually, I mean, surprisingly, it was a tough scrap. Kev, you watched it, mate, yeah?
Yeah, I watched it, yeah. It was, one of the... After last week's heavyweight action to this week, it was, there was a massive contrast to it there.
It brought you straight back down to earth, didn't it?
It literally was like watching sparring. I know he was his sparring partner. One thing that I was shocked about was Kevin Barry, Jospeh Parker's trainer. He said afterwards, we knew he was going to be awkward. We knew. Why would you put him in with someone that's going to make your fighter look bad when he's about to fight someone like Joshua or Wilder?
Exactly.
Well, that's what they're aiming for next. I just don't understand. If you knew he was that awkward and they've had terrible sparring, why televise that?
But look at the other options. Like the other names that were mentioned were guys that could potentially fucking dethrone Parker, man. Like a big guy like Dominic Breazeale, who's not the best boxer in the world, let's be honest. He can take a shot and he can dish out a shot, and he just battered Kevin Barry's other boy, Izu Igono, didn't he? So I think a couple of the names that were thrown in there, they probably wanted to try and avoid if possible. Parker was never going to lose that fight yesterday, but he might have lost a couple of those fights, you know. So it's maybe just one of them.
Well, they were talking about Dillian White as well, wasn't it? Dillian White threw his name in the hat as well, and that was obviously pushed away as quick as possible. But
Dillian was never going to fight in New Zealand on 10 days' notice. Do you know what I mean? It needed to be someone close, someone who's preferably in the gym with him already.
I don't know, if I was confident like Dillian, from what I saw, I think Dillian would have been gutted that he never went over there, mate.
Yeah,
even on a day's notice, I think he would have rather go out there.
Yeah, all I'm saying is, normally they show you on the coverage both athletes arriving at the venue, and they never really done that yesterday, and I wonder if that's because they maybe turned up in the same car. I don't know if that's...
How cocky was the big fella, though?
He was hilarious. Do you know who I want to see him fight? Let me put this out there. What's his name? Kojanu,
yeah.
I want to see it. Kojanu, Jason Gavin, 2017.
A one-rounder.
yeah, 1 round and that's it.
Yeah, it was a bit of a shite fight, to be fair. I don't think Parker done himself any favours. If we look at the wider scale and the impact it has on the heavyweight landscape just now, where does it leave Parker, Kev, for you when we're looking at the other champions?
I don't think it does. I don't think it puts him in there at all after that fight. I think he's got to really fight someone who's maybe top 10, maybe even top 20, and look really good to even get in the mix. I know he's got a title, but that fight didn't help him at all, did it? It's if I'm Anthony Joshua, I'm thinking easy, another belt. If I'm Deontay Wilder, I'm thinking I'm going to win it's going to be easy for me to win another belt and then have a massive fight between them two, I would have thought. But I just didn't see anything. He looks like he's got quick hands and that, but I think it's easy to look like you've got quick hands. I'd look like I've got quick hands against that geezer, I reckon. But I just don't know. I just think he looks like he's got quick hands, but I think if someone's throwing a big dig back, I just can't see him. I just can't see him.
We don't know, do we? Have we ever seen Parker rocked or hit or hurt? We haven't, have we?
Andy Ruiz gave him a hard time, but the biggest thing for me is when I watch him, I know he's 17 stone. I know that in my head. I know he's 17 stone, right? But when I watch him, I think to myself, he's not a fucking heavyweight, man. He doesn't look like a heavyweight to me. He doesn't look like one. He doesn't carry enough power. And when he's hitting these guys who have got these massive, inhumane-sized skulls, like fucking, they look like dinosaur heads, man. These people, when he's cracking these people in the head, he's not moving them. He's moving guys who have got loads of losses, like the guys he fought early on, Francois Botha. He's putting him through the ropes, but he's not going to.
He was like 70 at the time, wasn't he?
Exactly, he was old as fuck. So I just
He fought Tyson about 30 years ago, didn't he? Jesus, I could have beaten him, I'm sure. But it's
I just
I just don't know where he goes from here. I think he's got to have someone like Dillian White or even, I hate to say it, Tony Bellew or someone, but he's got to have someone that's top 10 or top
But
20
Bellew
in the
ain't
world.
top 10, is he?
Does Bellew beat
No,
him?
he's not.
Does Bellew beat him?
Fuck's sake.
I think Bellew beats him, man.
No, man.
I think it's an exciting fight,
No,
more
it's
exciting
not.
than what we've seen. But
You can't judge, right. It ain't Parker's fault Hughie Fury pulled out on 10 days' notice.
no.
Let's get that straight. It ain't his fault, right?
True.
So it's probably too easy to say you train for one fighter and a different fight. Styles do make fights at the end of the day. But he didn't have a full preparation for this mush he was fighting, did he? Apart from he's been sparring him, right?
I was going to say.
Well, he had enough preparation. How many rounds did they say they'd box? Over 100 rounds together.
I'm trying to play devil's advocate and give the man a break.
You can add 12 more bore into it, mate. Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't want to see
dunno.
Bellew in a world title fight straight off the bat from beating a one-legged man.
I do.
No,
I do want to see it.
that.
I want to see him. I want to see Tony Bellew have a crack. Just have a crack. The thing is, if you have a toss-up between him and Dillian White will come again. Dillian White will fight Whack. Then he'll fight somebody. He's got a lot more in the tank than Tony Bellew does. I'd like to see Bellew have a crack. Why not?
I don't like him.
Well, that's what I was going to say. A lot of people don't like him, man.
Do you know why? Because you tell me, right? Let's take David Hayes past out of it. Let's go. What Tony Bellew beat? What did Tony Bellew beat? He beat a man who's been out the ring in a competitive fight for 3.5 years.
Sam,
4 years.
he beat a David Hay who continually said he was in the best shape, but he's a 2.0.
I
and
could
he's
say
this.
that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So, if you're going to have a discussion about who he beat, if we're saying that he looked shit and he looked unfit and he looked overweight and he looked like he was out the ring and he was rusty, then fair enough. But he didn't, man. He didn't look that bad.
Does that make you deserve a world title fight?
We spoke about this.
If David Hay would have won, but spin it around the other way, Sam, because I know you're the biggest David Hay fan in the world. You hated that result.
I think
but
we've
spin
done.
Spin it round the other way.
Yeah.
If David Hay would have won that fight, would you now be calling for him to fight Jospeh Parker?
100%.
Yes, you would.
100%.
Yes, you would. So what's the difference?
Okay, I'll tell you the difference. He's been campaigning at that weight.
I'll tell you the difference right now. Tony Bellew beat David Hay, and David Hay's a bigger name than is on the record of Deontay Wilder or Jospeh Parker. They've not beat anybody of that stature. And
Yep.
and Bellew done him, and we can say the injury happened, and I'm not pretending the injury never happened, and I'm not pretending it didn't benefit Bellew. Of course it did. But the first few rounds of that fight, Bellew was slipping those big shots, and he was kind of looking out of ideas.
Yeah, he did.
So,
He did. I ain't going to deny that. But my problem is, you're telling me one fight at a weight deserves. How does? No matter who he fucking beat.
who did Hay beat before he fought Valuev? Thomas Bonin.
Hey, listen, yeah.
Thomas
I'm
Bonin,
gonna go
mate.
through the past.
Monty Barrett, wasn't it?
Monty Barrett,
Barrett.
Thomas Bonin, and he got a world title
He
shot
was
against him.
also a unified cruiserweight champion for years. Who beat? Believe it or not, Macaronelli was a great fighter when he ruined Macaronelli.
He was a good fighter.
Yeah.
And he won a couple at heavyweight, and he won a few at... Listen, Bellew's had one fight at heavyweight, and won by default.
Didn't win by default.
He won by default.
He won by knockout.
Fuck that, did he? Fuck that, did he? He won the fight by default against an... I'm not going to say over the hill. David Hay, world champion 2018. Okay, you heard it here first.
Kev, I'm going to be honest with you right now, and anybody watching this, the phone that we're talking to you on and the microphone is currently balanced on a signed David Hay glove. That's not even a joke.
True story.
It's on a signed David Hay glove. Oh
Listen,
my.
we can argue about David Hay for hours. Sam will never give in.
I'm never giving in.
That's the fact.
Oh,
David A could be 70 and Sam would still be going. He will be world champion next year, I promise.
If David believes it, I believe it.
oh God. I'm now staring at a picture of Sam with both of his kids with David Hay. This is fucking...
Look up. There's an Audley one.
He's got a signed poster of Audley Harris and David Hay. It's too much, man. Anyway, yeah, Jospeh Parker didn't do himself any favours for me. I totally agree with you, Kev. It doesn't really leave him anywhere at all. And I think he definitely gets beat by Joshua for me. Does he get beat by Hughie Fury? Because that's going to purse bids again.
Again, yeah, I saw that. This is weird because why are they going to purse bids again? I'll tell you why they're going to purse bids again. Do you want to know? Do you want to know my theory? Because they want it in the fucking UK.
Of course they do.
Because watching a big fight 7 days earlier, and the definition of a big fucking fight is Joshua Klitschko, right? And then this country is booming like fuck for boxing. So what happens following it 7 days later, 11 a.m. in the morning? We're going to have Jospeh Parker against his car washer and then put him in the ring. No. They've obviously realised, listen, the money fight is in the UK no matter who he's fighting. So let's fight Hughie Fury in the UK, make some money on it and look good. And actually
let's think about this. Was Hughie Fury actually injured? Did he say, do you know what, let's have this in England instead? You pretend you're injured, I'll give you another chance once I've beaten this sparring partner.
Yeah, I don't know what the injury is. I've not heard what the injury is.
They haven't brought anything out about it.
No, they haven't officially, as far as I'm aware. I've heard it's a back strain or a back spasm. What are you laughing for? I've heard it's a back. I might be wrong. Listen, we need to get Peter on. Peter's a top bloke. I've got a lot of time for Peter Fury.
Yep.
But I don't think it is all it seems.
Yeah, I think there's something behind it, definitely.
Listen, if they go and win the purse bid now, Frank Warren and BT Sport, then that tells you all you need to know. It stinks.
Yep.
Of course they will. That's exactly what's going to happen. And I think what Kev said, right, is the Parker side want that as well. They want that as well. That's what they were waiting for, man.
Yeah,
they want to come over. He said in his
if he comes over and beats Hughie Fury, it sets up perfectly, doesn't it? In front of the British crowd, if he actually looks good, which I'm not sure he would, but if he actually looks good, it sets it up, doesn't it, for another massive stadium event or a massive
against
arena.
Tyson Fury for some revenge.
Yeah, Tyson Fury or Joshua. You know, it just sets it up, doesn't it, nicely? You know, the British people have seen him, they might warm to him, and that's all you need, isn't it? And then you sell out Wembley Stadium again, or the O2 Arena, and it makes load more money for both of them.
Yeah.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
It does make sense. It makes business sense, which unfortunately is what matters nowadays.
Yeah, that's true. Let's roll on, Kev. We'll roll on to Canelo versus a punch bag. Chavez Jr. last night. I don't know if you stayed up for it, mate. I stayed up for it until 6 a.m, and I am disgusted in myself for doing so. It was a pathetic fight, man. Chavez Jr. is the biggest fraud in world boxing. I'll say it right now. Since the Sergio Martinez bullshit went on years ago, he's an absolute joke, man. Last night he just looked shocking, or early this morning he looked shocking. He offered absolutely nothing. What do you think, mate? Where does he stand?
Yeah, well, listen, I wasn't silly enough to wait up for it. I recorded it. I'm not going to lie, and watched it this morning about 7 o'clock when my little one got up. But yeah, do you know what? How he's got a record of 50 wins and 32 KOs. I don't know who he's been fighting. But yeah, he was a punch bag. I think I looked at some stats, and I think he threw 71 punches that landed the whole fight to Canelo's 238 or something like that, and it was just it was ridiculous.
It's embarrassing.
It was the biggest mismatch you've ever seen, isn't it? So listen, if he wasn't Chavez, he would never be there, would he? That's the truth, isn't it?
Have you seen out of interest, because I watched it yesterday and it's kind of opened my eyes a little bit to the Chavez legacy. Have you seen Maravilla, the Martinez documentary?
No.
So on that, basically what happened was, I know you probably know this, Sergio Martinez was stripped of the title. They gave it to Chavez Jr. when he fought some nobody, Sebastian Zabik or whatever he was called. And it came to light that Jose Suleiman, the president of the WBC, is actually the godfather of Chavez Jr. Like,
Fuck off.
I swear to God, man, he's his godfather.
Oh my God.
And in the run up in the run up to the Martinez fight, when he actually got the fight against Sergio Martinez, which he lost, Martinez beat him, Lou DiBella was going fucking mental because Jose Sulaiman was recorded on tape placing a bet saying that Chavez Jr. would beat Martinez. He's the president of the WBC, and he's making a bet on tape about one of his fighters, who is also his godson.
Oh my god.
Mental. So that,
who says boxing is fucking corrupt?
oh, it's unbelievable, man. Unbelievable.
We all know the truth. We all know the truth.
Unbelievable. Listen, you know what? You're right, though, Kev. How many fights did you say Chavez has had? I don't know. He's
had 54 fights and he's won 50. He's lost 3 and drawn 1.
Who in God's name has he fought? I know he fought about 5
Also,
Andy Lee?
He's knocked out 32 of them as well.
He stopped Andy Lee.
He done Andy Lee proper, yeah.
Yeah.
And I like Andy Lee. I've got a lot of respect for Andy Lee. He was a world champion in his own right, and he came up with some amazing performances. So that's a good name on your record.
That's a good win.
Listen, everyone has one decent night, and I think that was his, wasn't it?
But then he went up to he even went up to as heavy as light heavy. He fought Fonfara, didn't he? Fonfara done him.
Yeah, he did. Fonfara beat him. Yeah.
First round. Fonfara done him in the first round.
Don't know what round. I know he done him.
I don't know what round. I think it was 2 or 3. I think. So but yeah, it was early. It was very early.
I think his main victory from the weekend was making weight, and it almost seems as though
Yeah, but what weight? He made Canelo weight, didn't
it
he?
seems as though that was his biggest achievement, was just trying to make the weight. He had pictures with the scales. There was no pictures of him hitting fucking mitts.
I know. I have a question on that. This fight was at £164, yeah, which is in the middle of middleweight and super middleweight.
Yep.
And he was really proud to have made it. I heard, yeah, there was a stipulation, $1 million per pound over.
Yep.
That's real, yeah?
I heard that. Yeah, I heard that.
Who the fuck made that? Who the fuck signed that?
I don't know.
$1 million per pound.
The thing is, that becomes kind of irrelevant when your weight class has been made up.
Made up.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's true.
If you're trying to stick to a weight for a title, or you're trying to stick to a weight to appease a governing body, then fair dues, man. Put whatever sanctions you want in place. But when you're just putting sanctions in place because Canelo doesn't want you to be over his own weight class, it becomes irrelevant. It's not a thing.
You became his bitch by signing that contract.
Exactly. But that's where he is now. And there was a lot of criticism for the corner last night, Nacho Berestein, who I believe died 10 years ago and is now being operated by robots. He's in a corner. He's a legend. He's an absolute legend. But last night, they're going into the 12th round. He's lost every single round, and Berestein's just telling him, just get through this round. Just get through this round.
Fuck was that?
You're like, what is that, man? That's some Joe Gallagher shit there. I don't know.
Big up Joe Gallagher.
I don't know what's going on. Listen, Kev, one of the things we wanted to touch on, and I don't know how you would feel about it if you were based in the US or Mexico or wherever in North America you'd be. $70 for that pay-per-view last night.
Yeah, I wouldn't have paid for it.
50 quid, 55 quid.
I've paid for some shit.
Boxing related or?
Yeah, definitely boxing related. Sam's watched most of them with me.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I wouldn't have paid that, mate. It was, yeah.
What's the worst pay-per-view? What's the worst pay-per-view that comes to your mind? I'm looking at one. Brooke Gavin.
No, fuck that. I'm looking at one. Harrison Hay.
No, listen.
Yeah,
David
I
Hayes
was just
box
about to
office.
say
Fuck you.
Harrison Hay.
No way. David Hayes box office. Fuck all of you.
How is that boxing?
Oh, here we go again. Let's not have 20 more minutes on David Hayes.
So right, when David Hay was a young man, nah, there's been some shit. I'll give you that.
But
Oh,
surely,
yeah, no, do you know what? Brooke Gavin's right up there. That was shocking.
good card though. That's a good card though.
Linares was on it. Selby was on it. Yeah, Joshua was on it.
That's a good card for me.
But as a main event, do you know when you buy a pay-per-view, Kev? You personally, do you buy a main event or do you buy a boxing event?
I always look at the cards, but I end up buying it anyway, even if it is shite. I'll be honest with you. You know, I started, you know, I was probably one of the first people that signed up for that Box Nation, and after about 3 or 4 weeks was like, what the fuck have I done? So, it was awful. They promised you, you know, when you first started, they promised you boxing every weekend, and I'm turning over going, where the fuck is it? You know, it's,
Just Steve Bunce sitting on a fucking crate of beers talking about how.
Mate, Steve Bunce is what he's got. You know, he's got to be one of the most annoying blokes out there as well, isn't he? He really has.
Craig,
Always giving away his T-shirts, isn't he?
Yeah, I want same question to you, Craig. Do you look for a main event or do you look for the card from top to bottom?
Do you know what I look for when I think about pay-per-views? I think to myself, how will I feel if I miss this? Is what I look for, right? So if I wasn't at Klitschko Joshua last week, I was there, obviously. If I wasn't there, how would I have felt if I'd missed that and that event happened and it was a massive thing and everyone's buzzing about it? And if I chose not to watch it, would I have been disappointed? And I would have been really disappointed. So I try and think about afterwards, like, how would I feel about that? Klitschko Fury, if I didn't buy that. It wasn't a great fight if you're a general fan.
Yeah.
But if you didn't buy it and you didn't watch it happen, and you only heard about it afterwards, and you seen little bits and pieces, I'd have been a bit gutted. So
yeah,
there's some that I won't buy, but most I do, because they sell you on it, man. It's propaganda at the end of the day, isn't it?
It's fair to say that nowadays, obviously, are we looking at ever getting pay-per-views off BT Sport? Do they have a big enough star to do that? Well, obviously, we just did a video, and there's going to be 3 Sky box office pay-per-views in 3 months. Hey Bellew in March, Joshua Klitschko in April, Brooks Spence in May. All Matchroom, obviously. Do BT Sport even have a star that can make you go, yeah, I've got to buy his fucking fight? They don't, do they?
No.
I think because you pay extra for BT Sport, I think they can't.
Who's buying a fucking Tommy Flanagan pay-per-view?
His mum.
Who's buying that?
Probably me. I just love it. I just love boxing. You know, I probably would. Hey, I 20 quid, have it, Tommy. But yeah, I don't know, mate. Yeah, I always do. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, yeah, I know. You've been the one person I know who's bought pretty much everything. I'll say, you watching that shit, Kev? Yeah, I've recorded it as well. I'm going to watch it again for a second time tomorrow. I'm just that much of a glutton for punishment.
I always do, yeah. Watch it again in the morning. So.
Yeah, worst thing we ever did was you pausing your fucking television. Jesus Christ. Do you know what this idiot once did?
Oh, mate.
What was that?
That was terrible,
Was it Cat See This, Ricky Burns?
Yeah, See This, Ricky Burns. We went out, obviously, a bit, had a few beers. Feeling a bit worse for wear. Thought, right, we recorded the boxing, we'll put it on. And halfway through one of the fights, I said, let me just check his record. I went on to BoxRec, checked his record, and he's lost 4. Sam was like, no, he's lost 3. I was like, oh, bollocks, we just checked.
He just got the result from the fight.
Oh,
that's it. You fucking idiot.
Absolute nightmare.
Yeah, unbelievable.
we were looking at next week. Obviously, 13th of May is the Saturday night. And once again, I know we touched on this before, once again we've got clashing fucking cards, man. We've got a Matchroom card and a BT Sport card. Why are they doing this?
I haven't got a clue. But, for once, I reckon BT looks better than Sky.
Yeah, well, let's go through them. Who's headlining the Matchroom card?
The headline
Cal
Yafai world title fight. That's where their saving grace is. We've got a world title fight on
I love Yafai
in the middle of Birmingham on the middle
so
of
do
May.
I.
So
I think he's outstanding. Who else they got on the card?
Sam Eggington.
Sam Eggington for the European. He's fighting Seferino Rodriguez, who is the current champion. Fucking Frankie Gavin's still going at it, man. God bless him, Frankie Gavin.
They would probably put this on pay-per-view and you'd buy it because Josh Kelly's on this.
Listen, man, I wouldn't need to buy it. Josh would hook me up.
Kev, do you know Craig's got a massive crush on Josh Kelly? He's been telling me that he's the new Buglioni. He's the fittest man in British boxing.
No, hashtag no homo. No, listen, Josh Kelly's a handsome fucking dude, and he follows me on Twitter, so that means obviously we're mates.
Obviously.
Yeah, Josh Kelly's fighting on it, which will be good. Whatever happened to him fighting on Wembley? What went on there?
I haven't told you this actually.
Here we go.
Alright, Kev. You know, Okoli and Josh Kelly were both supposed to be on this the Wembley Stadium bill last week, right?
Yeah, time ran out for Okoli, didn't it?
I'm doing air quotes when you say that. That's the official wording.
On Okoli?
Okay.
But what? On Kelly? Because Adam Booth wasn't even there.
Exactly. Adam Booth watched the fight at home with Kugan Cassius.
He did, yep.
And how did no one pick up on this? That Josh Kelly was still due to fight that night?
That's what I mean. I seen them watching it, him and Kugan watching it, and I thought, fuck, Kelly was supposed to be on that card.
Exactly. Now, what I've heard in the week since is basically they said Kelly needs to be the fight before Joshua, and Eddie said it can't happen. Quigg is that fight, and they said you need to guarantee us that Kelly's going to be that fight, or we're just not. We're pulling him from the fight. We're pulling him from the card, and evidently that's what happened. Booth watched it at home. That's what I've heard. I may be wrong. It may be wrong. My information may be wrong, but I've heard they didn't go to the arena. They didn't go to the stadium because they weren't guaranteed Kelly was going to be the last fight before Joshua Klitschko.
If you're under a promotional agreement or a promotional contract, how can you do that after one fight? Like, where did he get off?
Adam Booth runs things. Adam Booth is the messiah.
I do like Booth, to be fair.
I love Booth.
And I'll tell you what, I'd have fucking rather watched Josh Kelly than that Scott Quigg fight.
Mate, you could have fitted in a Coley and Josh Kelly. Start the
scrap
card.
that.
But you know what? This is they said they had a curfew, right? Which I know is true. There is a curfew at Wembley Stadium. I lived there. Start the card half an hour early. A Coley's going to bomb the mush out in fucking 1 minute. And Kelly's going to look fucking sexy in there doing his work for what, 3 or 4 rounds? Do you know what I mean? It doesn't need to be a long... Make the card half an hour longer. Put these boys on there and give them the fucking exposure. I don't understand what happened that week. I can't get my head around it.
I can't understand how a promotional power as big as Matchroom can have one of their biggest news signings sitting in a fucking dressing room waiting to see if Scott Quigg knocks somebody out. How does that happen? How does it get to that? That's
If
really...
I was Lawrence Okoli, mate, I'd be looking around for something else, I'll tell you.
Well, yeah, I've seen it, yeah, I've seen that.
I don't know if you can do that. Like, listen, Okoli's out the cage, hashtag. But
Okoli's temporarily back in the cage.
yeah.
Hashtag Okoli's not out the cage.
He had his pro debut pushed back till after the main event, didn't he? And
Was he even on TV?
wasn't even on TV. 13 people saw it. I saw it on Twitter. And then you've had this happen. The biggest card in England for how many years?
Well, before the war. Since before the war.
And he's promised to be on it and doesn't get put on. That's fucking bad.
Yeah, it was poor. It was very
It's
poor.
heartbreaking, isn't it?
Very
Heartbreaking.
poor.
But he seems to have took it in his stride, man. He was busy getting pulled over by the police on the North Circuit yesterday. Did you see that?
Let's not go into that. Let's fucking leave. Let's leave that alone.
Big up Lawrence. I think he's a massive prospect. And
He's a good fighter.
He doesn't look like a fucking cruiserweight.
No, he's a monster.
Huge.
He's a monster. Kev, what you saying about this BT Sports card then, mate? What do you think about the fights?
That's Josh Warrington, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Again, I love Josh Warrington. I think he's brilliant. But he's fighting Kiko Martinez. It depends what Kiko Martinez turns up. You know, he's got a journeyman record now, hasn't he? That's the thing. And his last 2 fights, he hasn't done anything to impress anyone. I think he beat a guy who had 16 losses on his record, and drew with a guy who had 17 losses on his record for his last 2, and they were both in Spain. So I don't know what he's got left, if I'm honest. But Josh Warrington, he's got to be moving on to the next level now. I think he'll beat him comfortably. I'm sure.
Would you say Josh Warrington was the biggest name to jump promotionally between those? Obviously, he left Matchroom and went to Frank Warren. And he kind of owns Leeds. I was in Leeds last July for he main evented against Paddy Highland, I think it was, and he looked fucking sensational.
Yeah,
but
he's awesome. He's awesome. But you know, that's another big British fight, isn't it? You know, going to come up either Selby or Frampton or something like that. It's gonna come, isn't it? You know, he's just got a. Kiko Martinez is probably perfect for him to then move on to the next 2. You know, Josh Warrington, Quigg might even be good just to finish Quigg off and say stay in America. You know, that might be half decent. So
does he beat those guys though? That's the question I've always had about Warrington, and I feel as though that's the question that maybe Eddie here in the match, and we've had about him as well. Does he beat the elite guys? Because I don't see him beating a Frampton. I don't know if he beats a Selby. Is he? Obviously, he's got a large draw in Leeds, and he always brings a massive crowd. But can he take that next step up and win a world title?
I think he beats Quigg.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that ain't a world title. Is Quigg your last? You know, if he wants to be a world champion, which obviously he does. I guess Quigg is a big name. He is, of course, he is. He's a former world champ at Super Bantam. But he's done nothing at featherweight.
I tell you what, his head was rocking all over the place when that boy was punching him last week. His head was bouncing. It didn't look like he liked. It reminded me of remember Roman Gonzalez fought that Rungvisai on the
Thailand.
GGG card,
Yeah.
and when he moved up in weight, you seen him take those shots, and it wasn't the same as when he took shots at the lower weight. Man, the shots were stopping him in his tracks. They were hurting him a little bit, and it just looked like the weight might be a little bit too much of a jump. So I don't know how Quigg gets on at that weight personally.
The only issue I see with Josh Warrington is his knockouts. You know, he doesn't knock many people out, does he? And I think that's when you go to world level, you need that extra bit of power, that extra knockout, one punch knockout. And I think, you know, the problem is Frampton's got that. Not sure Selby's got it, so that could be a good, you know, him versus Selby could be good because they're both tactically brilliant, aren't they?
Yeah, no, you're right. That'd be a good fight. It surprised me when he left when he left Eddie Hearn for Frank Warren. What has Frank and Box Nation BT Sport told him that they can do for him that Eddie wasn't already doing?
That must be the world title.
But you don't think Eddie could have got him a world title? He's got world title for bums. Ask Paul Smith.
Shout out Paul Smith. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if he could get him it. Because think
It's got to
about
come down to money, hasn't it?
it must be.
It's got to come down to money.
We'll make you one
I think
of our
with
biggest
Frank Warren,
stars.
I think with Frank Warren, he'll offer him headlines, won't he? He'll offer him the main events. I'm not sure he would have got that carrying on with Matchroom.
Yeah, I know what you mean. He was the main event when I went last July and was the best he looked. But Dillian White and David Allen fought on that card, and you know the guys that had travelled were for that card. I don't know. Yes, listen, it's hard to know. There's got to be a reason that he's jumped. He's obviously been promised something by Frank that Eddie hadn't promised him. Maybe Eddie honestly didn't feel like he could bring him anywhere. He didn't see him being as good as he previously had.
The thing with Josh Warrington is a town. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he
he is Leeds. So when they go fucking, they love the Kaiser
predict
Chiefs
a
up there, don't they?
riot.
They
Yes.
love the Kaiser Chiefs.
Fucking tops off, 32 stone men with their tops off fucking swinging around their nut. It was mental, bruv.
He is that. That's what he brings. So, you know, I think what Kev's saying is probably correct. It's probably came down to money, and Warren said, I value that audience at this much, and this is how Eddie values it. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He's now got Nicola Adams.
Nicola Adams fighting on that card as well. She's going to be the first female to fight 3-minute rounds. What do you make about that, Kev?
Oh God, it's just longer. You know, listen, I'm all for women boxing. Right? I am. You know,
It sounds
women
like
wanna punch each other. If women want to punch each other in the face, fantastic. But if this is going to get serious, then let's get some serious contenders. You know, and let's go serious with this boxing. You know, we're 6 days or however many days away from the event, and she ain't even got an opponent yet.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, come on, seriously, that wouldn't happen. You know, for any guy who is, you know, second to headlining an event.
Very
You know,
true,
it's just ridiculous. That's the truth. And 3 minutes, it just prolongs the agony, doesn't it? You know, that's how I feel. I'm sorry, lads. You know,
I agree. I agree to an extent. Every like female fight that I've seen since the UK promoters started getting involved, like Katie Taylor's a fucking tremendous boxer, right? Don't start doing the impression.
Thanks, Eddie. Put me on there now.
Katie Taylor's a tremendous boxer, very, very talented, very technically fucking gifted. She's done it all as an amateur. When I watch her, every time I watch her, it's when I go and get a beer. Do you know what I mean? It's that fight where I go and get a beer. And it's not. And listen, man, before anybody starts getting stressed out because it's a woman, that's bullshit. That's not true. For me, it doesn't have the same impact. It doesn't. These women, and it's what you said is right. When you look at the opposition, the people that Katie Taylor's fighting, they're losing. They've lost 5 fights, or they've lost 7 fights, but they're still ranked like fucking fourth in the world or something. It's crazy how shallow the divisions are, and it's crazy how easy it is for them to make a move. Clarissa Shields has had like 1 or 2 fights, the American bird, 1 or 2 fights, and she's now ranked like 2nd or 3rd in the world. That's madness.
it's crazy, isn't it?
I agree. Do you know what? I'm obviously a UFC fan. Look to your right hand side. There's a poster. Yeah, I went to Vegas and Ronda Rousey and Miesha Tate fought, and I gave a fuck about that fight. And that's the proof. It's not that I don't like women boxing. For me, I want to know the story of both fighters. And with these big promoters, Eddie doing it with Katie, and BT and Frank doing it with only Nicola Adams, you only get to know and get to give a fuck about one side of the story. Because no one knows who the fuck these obscure women are on the other side.
And I think Kev touched on it when we spoke about the last time we spoke on a podcast about the BT cards. It's an empty gesture. It's an empty gesture for Eddie to take on Katie Taylor. I was at Wembley. I got there about 7 o'clock. Doors opened at 6:30. I got there at 7 o'clock. Katie Taylor was already on. If you are serious about building a division, about building like a female boxing collective, and you're going to promote this woman and she's going to be a star, fucking put her on when there's more than 2,000 people in Wembley Stadium then. Because he didn't do it. He put her on early. The same as they always do. They do not give her enough props. They don't build it up. They don't do face-offs and conversations and all that stuff. They give her 2 minutes airtime a week. I was there at the weigh-ins as well. Not the weigh-ins, the workouts. They gave her 2 minutes and nobody cared, man. And that's not a detriment of her skill or how good she is. It's how she's being promoted and how she's being put forward into the public, and they don't really care. Is what I see.
You have to give them. Listen. It's the first time they're trying with it. It's difficult. It's different, isn't it?
But are they trying though?
I think they're trying. I don't think.
I don't think they are.
Nah, I disagree. I can't sit here and say I don't think Eddie's trying with Katie, because why else would he have signed her?
I think it's an afterthought, man.
Nah, me personally, I just think he doesn't know the best way to do it right now. He might believe he's doing it the best way. But
listen, I think it's a way to get women to watch women boxing, mate.
That's it. I agree.
And sell more seats at an arena and stuff like that. That's what I think it is.
Marketing and sales and everything else.
As an example, look at Nicola Adams. 6 days before she's about to fight, she ain't got a clue who she's fighting for, fighting against. And we were talking about, preparation for fighting against someone. You don't know who you're fighting against 6 days before. You ain't preparing much, are you? Do you know what I mean? It's just awful. It is awful to me.
And I thought she looked poor in her first fight. I didn't think she looked poor, but the first fight that she had, she's not going to attract an audience the same as Katie Taylor. Like, at least Katie Taylor looks exciting all the time. Nicola Adams was pretty boring to watch.
Listen, I heard Nicola Adams on the radio today. She was doing like a Shell advert or something. So something like that. It was like a pet, and she may possibly have a little bit more personality than Katie Taylor. I think it's fair to say.
I think so.
And I agree.
Listen, she has the pedigree. Let's not forget that. Her first fight, she didn't look great.
Double Olympic gold medalist.
Fuck me.
You can't argue with that.
Don't ever argue with that shit.
No.
You can't. She's technically a beautiful boxer.
Yeah.
And like when I sit here and say I don't particularly enjoy the women boxing, it's not in general. It's yet. I think I can do. I think I will do. I think they need to find something. I don't know what. I think there's an ingredient missing in female boxing in this country. Because is it Norway that...
they love it. Cecilia Brækhuus.
She's a fucking massive name.
Denmark, I think.
Denmark, that's right. Yeah. It is Denmark. And she is like literally so well thought of. And they've crossed the kind of threshold. It doesn't matter that it's women's boxing. It's boxing and she's a star. I think Nicola might have that. We just need to give her a bit of time. Because Katie's had a bit of time. Nicola ain't had that yet.
The major problem for me is the depth. The depth of talent. And if you have...
They need to contact that. Dana White, didn't they, mate, and say, how have you done this with the women?
Yeah.
I think that's something like that, because the problem is there's like 3 or 4 fighters.
That's it.
Yeah, per or even 2 or 3 per weight division. How can you have a serious, contender in that? It's you win one fight, you go second, as Craig said earlier.
And I watched Nicola Adams' partner make her debut, Marlon Esparza or something like she's called. She was an Olympic bronze medalist. I watched her make her debut over in the States, and she was fighting a girl with a pot belly. Listen, I've took worse out for dinner, but she was fighting a girl with a pot belly with an MMA record of 2 wins and 9 losses, and that's your debut for your Olympic star. It's bullshit, man. It's bullshit.
Do you know the bird that Katie Taylor had her toughest fight against last week?
Good fighter.
She worked in a scrapyard.
Yeah.
She worked in a fucking scrapyard.
But at least she was 5-0.
Oh, listen, I'm not saying she. But what I mean is, there's levels to the men's and boxing game, like men and women's boxing game. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. They're missing an ingredient, and I think they need to do something. I don't know. Maybe we just build up an Adams or Katie Taylor against Natasha Jonas every 6 months. We just have that fight on repeat. And then Nicola Adams, we find one that she's had a couple of fights with, and they just fight each other every couple of months. I honestly think if you know both sides and you think it's a tough fight, and we know both stories and we give a fuck about both stories, it brings more interest.
All I'm saying is fighttalk.net, support equality for women, 3-minute rounds, equal pay. We're behind it, so don't anyone start giving a shit about not being behind women's boxing. Alright? We're all about it. We just think it's a bit shite right now. That's all.
Let's give it some time. Anything else? What we touched on? Anything else to touch on? I watched that Bleed for This last night.
Good film?
Good film. You seen it, Kev?
What's that? What film?
Bleed for This. You know the Vinny Paz one?
No, I haven't seen it. Is it good?
Good film, man. Good film. Worth watching. Big up Vinny Paz. That was... Dude had a car crash and broke his neck and fought 14 months later. And beat Roberto Duran as well a little bit after that. So
You beat a fucking old Roberto Duran.
I don't give a fuck. Would you like to say you beat Roberto Duran?
Yeah.
Good name on your record, isn't it?
Twice.
Yeah.
Beat him twice.
Did he?
They didn't say that in the film. I had to get on BoxRec. Big up BoxRec.
Spencer Fearing style research there. He doesn't use BoxRec. He doesn't.
He's the knowledge.
Yeah. Fuck, what we got next? What's happening next? These two cards we spoke about next weekend.
What are you going to watch? Let's go. When those two cards are both on telly, Craig, what card are you going to put on?
I'm going to watch the Matchroom card because I'm a massive Cal Yafai fan.
See, I don't give a fuck.
I'm going to watch the Josh Warrington one and then probably record Calify and then watch it after.
What are you going to watch, Sam?
I might go out for dinner.
That's the honest answer.
Yeah. I might go out for dinner and then phone you two cunts in the morning and ask who won what. None of them are really tickling my balls, but there's some good fights. I quite like Eggington. Did he really boost his profile beating Malignaggi? Eggington's obviously on the Birmingham card. I don't even think we mentioned his name, have we?
Yeah, we did. We said he's fighting
Seferino Rodriguez.
Eggington just doesn't have a personality. That's his problem.
Yeah. I like him as a boxer. He's hard and gritty, isn't he? But,
old school,
and
yeah.
he's exciting to watch, but he's just dull as dishwater, isn't he?
Yeah. Dull as dishwater. Looks as though he's tired all the time. Just looks like he wants to go to bed. And but I think he'll do Seferino Rodriguez. And they'll try. How weird is it? Barry Hearn fucking loves him. How weird is that? Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Barry Hearn invites him out for dinner and
really?
brings him to the office he's his favourite fighter.
It's crazy.
He says Barry Hearn says he's his favourite matchroom fighter.
Fucking hell.
Well, there we go.
I reckon it's changed after last weekend. Joshua brought in about 20 million to the company. I think he'll be taking Josh out to a bit of a dinner. Anything else? What are we missing? What we got?
Gervonta Davis card coming up 20th of May. New video coming up on that on fighttalk.net on the YouTube as well. Kev, who'd you fancy for that?
Gervonta Davis looks amazing, doesn't he?
I think so.
I don't. Yeah. Listen, I think I can't see anything else really. I think a knockout Gervonta Davis.
I think he looks like a massive, massive star. World boxing. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. Anthony Yard, we spoke about last time we spoke as well. Anthony Yard's fighting Chris Hobbs on that card. Keep an eye out on that 20th of May as well. I think that's it.
Yeah, we'll put up the prediction video we did the other night. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. We were all tired. You were drunk.
I was definitely drunk.
We'll put up the prediction video, see what happens. We've got loads of shit bubbling under the surface, ready to be thrown out and promoted. Kevin, thank you for coming on.
No problem. It's a pleasure, lads. Anytime.
Have you got a message for your fans?
Just hit the subscribe button.
#stay humble.
Exactly. I always do.
This has been the Fight Talk podcast.
Listen, wait, hold on a second. Jack Catterall, if you're out there, your family love you. Just come home, Jack. Just come home, mate. Fighttalk.net all day.